Good afternoon, guys. It's Miss Metcalf. I'm here to go ahead and teach you how to multiply and divide integers today. First of all, you should have out this paper that we sent home with you today for homework. This is where we're going to take our notes and do some practice problems. Make sure that you do have all your notes filled in and all of the practice problems done before you get to class tomorrow. Good thing about multiplying and dividing integers is that it's pretty simple. We do need to remember a few things first. We did put on here a reminder of the definition. Integers are positive and negative whole numbers. So that means we won't be having to deal with decimals and fractions for right now, just positive and negative whole numbers. Okay, of course, if you're already on the video, then you read these directions and you're going to make sure that you have all of this done before tomorrow in class. Let's go ahead and open to the inside. Left side first. We're going to go ahead and take some notes. Multiplying and dividing integers is easy. First, we just need to multiply or divide like normal. Notice that I did include here this parentheses notation. When you see two numbers right up against each other separated with parentheses, means to multiply. You might want to make a note of that to yourself so you remember from now on if you see this type of notation, that's an indication of multiplication for you. Once you have multiplied and divided your numbers like normal, then all you need to do is decide whether the sign should be positive or negative. And that's what we're going to focus on in our notes today is how do we know whether the sign is going to be a positive or negative sign for my answer. So here are a few ways that you can figure out whether your answer will be positive or negative. One way I'm going to focus on the left side of your paper here is to use the sleepy triangle. That's a little nickname we have for this triangle right here. The sleepy triangle has two eyes closed, or two negative signs, and then it has a mouth with a finger covering it telling everybody, shh, I'm sleeping. Okay, so we have two negatives and a positive that make up our sleepy triangle. You need to always draw it that way if you're going to use the sleepy triangle. The way we use it is we cover up the two signs in the numbers that you are multiplying or dividing. For instance, if I had -2 times a +2, I would cover up both my positives and negatives, and that would tell me that my answer is going to be a -4. So again, a -2 times a +2 would actually give me a -2 as my answer. So you can use the sleepy triangle to help you if you draw it out on your homework assignments, on your in-class assignments, or even on your test when we do take a test over multiplying and dividing our integers. You can also just memorize the rules. So we do have rules, and pretty much what you need to know is that if you have two positives and you're multiplying them, remember that this little floating dot means to multiply, you will actually get a positive answer. So two positives multiplied together gives you a positive. Two negatives multiplied together gives you a positive answer. Okay, if I were to have a negative multiplied with a positive, I would actually get a negative answer. And a positive multiplied with a negative, kind of this same situation up here, would also be a negative answer. Now what about dividing? Well, good news is it's actually the same. If you divide a positive number by a positive number, you get a positive answer. If you have two negative numbers and you're dividing them, you still get a positive answer. If I have one negative being divided by a positive, I would get a negative answer. And if I have a positive number being divided by a negative number, I still get a negative answer. So what you should notice here is that same signs. If I have two positives being multiplied, two positives being divided, or two negatives being multiplied, or two negatives being divided, same signs gives me always a positive answer. Now what if my signs are different? Notice here we had a negative multiplied with a positive multiplied with a negative. Here we had different signs being divided as well. Different signs will always equal a negative answer. So again, you can either use the sleepy triangle to always help you figure out whether your answer should be positive or negative, or you can memorize the rules. Notice I gave you a very detailed breakdown here, but as long as you can remember that same signs always gives you a positive answer and different signs gives you a negative answer when you multiply and divide these integers, then you'll be set. Let's look at a few of our practice problems down here. I have 5 times negative 3. There is no sign in front of this 5. If there is no sign in front of the number, that means it's a positive number. So I have a positive being multiplied with a negative. Let's worry about just the multiplying first. 5 times 3 is 15. So I know my digits are going to be 15. What about my sign? I have a positive with a negative. If I cover up the positive and negative on my sleepy triangle, that leaves me just a negative. Also, notice these are different signs. Different signs equals a negative answer. So positive 5 times negative 3 is going to equal negative 15. Let's look at number 2 here. I have negative 3. Remember that when these parentheses are touching each other, that really means multiplication. So I have negative 3 times negative 3. Well, let's see. If I cover up both of my negatives on my sleepy triangle, that means I'm going to have a positive answer. And also, same signs. In our rules, we say same signs equals a positive answer. 3 times 3 is 9, and we know our answer is going to be positive. I don't need to write that plus sign because we know in math world that if there's no sign in front of the number, it's a positive number. So I can just leave it just like that. Number 3 here, I have negative 63 divided by negative 9. Remember that this little bar here means divided by. Fractions are just unsolved division problems, so this notation still tells me that I'm dividing. 63 divided by 9 is 7. I have 2 negatives. If I cover up the 2 negatives on my sleepy triangle, I get a positive answer. Same signs as a positive answer, so I have just a positive 7 for that one. 64 divided by negative 8. Well, 64 divided by 8 is 8. Now let's figure out what sign it should be. This is a positive number since there's no sign in front of it, divided by a negative number. Cover up my positive and my negative on my sleepy triangle. That means I have just a negative left. So that must mean that my answer is negative. Different signs equals a negative answer. Hopefully these notes helped you out and will make this pretty easy as long as you use the sleepy triangle or as long as you memorize these rules for multiplying and dividing integers. You'll be just fine in class. Your job tonight is to finish 1 through 10 on the other side of your foldable here and have this all complete ready to show your teacher in class tomorrow. Have a good evening. We'll see you tomorrow.